History tells the story of the world and of our lives. Sometimes that history goes bump in the night. Broadcasting from the center of oddity and the supernatural in Central Florida, it's the History Goes Bump podcast.
Hello, you spectacular people. Welcome to History Goes Bump Redux. I am your host, Diane.
And this is Kelly.
Kelly, one of the reasons we've been doing the Reduxes is because we want to cover locations that you weren't co-hosting previously and do them together. But the other reason is to update these locations. And the one that we're doing on this Redux, we did back in 2015. And we actually have named this a different name because originally we called it the Barron Hill Tavern and Brewery. Well, that was only in that location for 3 years. And in 2015, that's what it was. So we named it that. But before that, it was the General Lafayette Inn, and that's what it was for many, many years. So I decided to name the Redux after that because that was there longer than this other location, which has had 2 other businesses move into it since we covered it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, better to go back to the OG.
Yes. So this is going to be the General Lafayette Inn. Are you ready to go back?
I'm ready. So, as Diane said, the previous name of the episode was the Barron Hill Tavern and Brewery, and that actually closed in 2016 and was reopened as The General. That too closed in January of 2020. Today, it is owned by business guru Michael M. Carter, who runs it as a business incubator called the Mission Corporation. The building is beautiful and has stood for nearly 300 years outside of Philadelphia, meaning it has an extensive history. Stories of unexplained happenings have been told about the property for years. Join us as we explore the history and hauntings of the General Lafayette Inn.
The General Lafayette Inn is located in Lafayette Hill, Pennsylvania. The town was named for French General Marquis de Lafayette, who spent time in the area during the American Revolution. I'm sure our listeners are very familiar with Lafayette. He was a French aristocrat who fought with the rebels during the American Revolution. He comes up all the time on this podcast because they name everything after him.
Right.
Whether it's a city, a location, everybody loves Lafayette. He was a close friend of several of the founding fathers. He had been commissioned as an officer at the tender age of 13 in his home country of France. Hard to believe. Can you imagine putting a 13-year-old in charge?
No.
Here, take care of this regiment over there. He came to America and was commissioned as a general when he was just 19. He would be wounded at the Battle of Brandywine and play a major role in the siege of Yorktown. Lafayette's connection to this property, the General Lafayette Inn, dates to the Battle of Barron Hill. In May of 1778, General George Washington sent General Lafayette to Barron Hill with 2,200 men to do some spying. Now, this seems like a large group for reconnaissance, don't you think, Kelly?
I would say so.
I want you guys to spy. How about you take 2,200 of you? Be very quiet.
Sneaky, sneak, sneak.
And indeed, the British soon found out about the group and surrounded them on 3 sides. Lafayette's force was nearly 1/3 of General Washington's army, and thus they could not afford to be slaughtered. General Lafayette climbed the tower of the St. Peter's Church, which was right next to the inn, which tells you that the General Lafayette Inn was already here during the American Revolution, and he mapped out a plan for escape. The British far outnumbered Lafayette, and he ordered a retreat. He knew in order to put up a better fight and succeed in retreating, he needed to convince the British that they were dealing with a bigger force than what Lafayette actually had. He ordered his men to spread out on the future Lafayette Hill and fire sporadically from different spots. The group then backed away through a sunken road where they were not easily seen, and they made it across Matson's Ford safely. The British headed for New York, and General Lafayette came up from the rear, successfully attacking the British in New Jersey. So what a plan. You were completely outnumbered, you're almost completely surrounded, and you managed to get out of that basically by pretending that there's about 5,000 of us because we're going to shoot from over here and we're going to shoot from over there.
Pretty brilliant.
And they're going to think that they're surrounded.
The original building that would later host inns, restaurants, and breweries was built in 1732. In 1752, Christopher Rapine bought the property and named it the 3 Tons Inn. General William Smallwood and General William Hull are believed to have used the 3 Tons as their headquarters during the Revolutionary War. They joined General Lafayette in spy operations on the British before the Battle of Barren Hill. After the Revolutionary War, the inn needed extensive repairs, and it was expanded. Fireplaces were added to the first and second floors in corner spaces, which was unique for the time. Marble from the old blue quarry was used to make the mantels. Ludwig Dager owned the inn during these renovations, and the property was kept in the Dager family until 1825, when John Hagee took over the inn and renamed it Trooper. In 1828, the property went back to the Dager family until 1869.
Who names an inn Trooper? What a weird name.
Because it's a trooper.
I guess.
It keeps on keeping on. Like the Energizer Bunny Inn.
George and Leonard Fisher bought the property and changed the name yet again to the Barren Hill Hotel. In 1874, a horse-drawn trolley line was built from Philadelphia, and the hotel saw a resurgence in business. It was at this same time that the property found itself in the hands of another owner. James Maywinnie kept the building until 1895. Lottie Gunlack owned the hotel until 1946. Now we have another Ludwig Zakiewicz. He bought the hotel in 1946 and changed the name to Lafayette Hotel, naming it for General Lafayette. The hotel faced demolition in 1958 to make way for a gas station.
Oh, no.
But thankfully, Ludwig saved it. He sold the building to Todd Himmeltag and convinced him that restoration would be a plus and that if he made improvements, the hotel would thrive. Ludwig was right, and the Lafayette did very well for the next 30 years. From 1961 until the 1990s, brothers Mark and Michael Mustin held the property.
Mike McGlynn bought the property in the early 1990s. McGlynn believed strongly in preservation, and he began extensive restoration on the building. By 1996, the old building was ready for business again, this time under the name the General Lafayette Inn. It was at this time that the microbrewery was added. In 1999, a bed and breakfast was added. Because of his love for the history, McGlynn began hosting events to commemorate General Lafayette's escape. McGlynn died of cancer in 2003. The inn's brewmaster, Chris Leonard, took over ownership in 2004. The place was never the same, though. The General Lafayette Inn went into bankruptcy and closed in 2010.
Erin Wallace was a restaurateur who was unique in the world of brewery ownership since she was a female. Besides owning Barren Hill Tavern, she also owned Devil's Den in South Philadelphia and Old Eagle Tavern in Manayunk. She bought the former General Lafayette Inn in 2013, and she poured $1.5 million into renovations before opening the Barren Hill Tavern and Brewery. The run only lasted for 3 years, and the brewpub was shuttered in May of 2016. So literally very shortly after we featured it here on the podcast, it closed.
It was donezo.
Yeah, it was donezo for sure. And as we've been going through, you see, since this has got 300 years of history, it has gone through a lot of ownership, but also a lot of renovations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes me wonder how much of it is, still kind of original to what it looked like at the very beginning. Bob Devine and Nick Chaffon took on the property and opened a new dining concept, The General, in August of 2016. The restaurant offered American cuisine with a twist, a sushi bar was included.
What? Okay.
So that's why it was a new dining concept.
I'm game. I'll have the sushi. You can have a burger.
Well, if you think about it, they call stuff like that fusion now, don't they really?
Usually fusion is when you actually mix them into one plate, though.
Well, you could put some sushi on top of a burger.
Okay.
Not really.
Yeah, not really. Stick a little toothpick through the roll and shove it through the burger.
We're definitely not going to be hosting our own chef show for sure.
Definitely not. I'll put some wasabi on your burger.
Well, that actually would be kind of good, I think. Yeah, I could do that. Well, that's our kind of fusion burger then. I'm sure somebody's done that already. Red Robin has every kind of hamburger idea out there, so.
Yum.
Oh, great. And they are not sponsoring the show. And now a little break for a word about one of our sponsors. The decor was a blend of rustic and contemporary. The General only lasted until 2020, and then in came entrepreneur Michael M. Carter, who wrote the book The Mission Corporation with Michael T. Moe. The book detailed 7 tenets that make companies successful, and they wanted to turn the former inn into a club for members who would foster what they called a modern brand of capitalism with a social component. We aren't sure what they named the club or even if it actually is open or what is going on with it.
Alrighty then.
Here's what happened. I looked this up to see, hey, what's going on with the Barron Hill Tavern? And as I did, I started seeing, oh, wait, it became this place called the General. And then I went, oh, wait, there's an article here from 2022 talking about Michael M. Carter making this some kind of a business incubator, which I know gave you pause because you're like, what is that? It's a little baby business and you put it in the incubator and see if it does okay.
See if it grows.
Yeah. Basically, I don't know. It's a club for members. They get together and talk business. What's that group that...
Toastmasters?
Yes. Golly, how did you get that right out of my head? I didn't even give you a hint of what I was going to say. Yes.
Because we have one brain.
Yeah.
We share it. So, it's on loan to me momentarily.
So that's what I was thinking is maybe it's something like that where people who are entrepreneurs and starting their own business or have a small business get together and come up with ideas of marketing or help each other or whatever, kind of like what we do podcast support groups and stuff like that. But when I tried to look into it further, I couldn't find anything about it. So I don't know that he bought the building, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know if they've really done anything with it. What's really sucks about it, from the time it was the Barron Hill Tavern all the way up until now, nobody's been able to go in there and really do any kind of investigations or anything like that. They did not support the whole haunting thing, although the article from 2022 talking about this business incubator did mention that there were people who said that the building was haunted and that they'd had investigators in there in previous years. So I don't know about any current hauntings going on, but we do have the ones that we'd found previously to share with everybody.
With such a vast history and with a location in the heart of some of the American Revolution battles, it is not surprising to hear rumors of hauntings taking place at the building. An old woman is one of the more prominent ghosts rumored to be at the building. When the location was still the General Lafayette Inn, an older woman's full-bodied apparition would be seen walking in the smaller upstairs dining room. She also communicated with investigators via Ouija boards. There are claims that a woman was killed in the building during a poker game, but we found nothing to substantiate that.
Yeah, so there was no newspaper articles to go with that, so it's kind of a legend that's attached to the building, and I don't know if using the Ouija board, that's how they found out.
Did she get accused of cheating?
Yeah,
Was somebody a sore loser?
Maybe.
What happened? I need the details.
I'm sure she wasn't actually playing in the poker game because I can't imagine they really let women do that back in the time that she probably was killed.
Not.
And also, a lot of these investigations were done pretty early on. So I don't think it was just, you had some of these young punks coming in with some Ouija boards trying to stir up some trouble. I think they didn't really have a lot of forms of communication because spirit boxes haven't been around for very long. So I think that's why they were using that for investigating. One night after closing, 2 waitresses were organizing the chairs and they came upon a chair that would not budge no matter how hard they tried. Who superglued this to the floor? They both felt as though someone unseen were sitting in the chair. They asked a manager for help and he lifted it quite easily as though whoever had been sitting in the chair had gotten up and is probably laughing in the afterlife at you.
That was a heavy spirit.
Yeah, he's probably like, ha ha. On another occasion, a chair was witnessed tipping up on one leg and twirling in the pool room. Can you imagine? That totally like screams poltergeist to me when all the chairs went up on the table. It's like just starts twirling on one little leg.
The spirits are doing parlor tricks.
Yeah, because that would be hard to do for a living person. But it is something you would think you'd see in like the Haunted Mansion.
Oh, of
for
course.
Disney.
Doors have slammed and their knobs have rattled. Former owner Mike McGlynn claimed that when he would be in his office doing paperwork with the door closed, he would hear the doorknob jiggle as if someone were trying to come in. But when he would look at the knob, it would not be moving. No one would be at the door when he opened it. Disembodied footsteps can be heard throughout the building. Full-bodied apparitions have been seen. In 2007, a bar patron was leaving the tavern around 1 a.m. and he claimed to see the apparition of an old hunched-over man wearing a white nightshirt moving from the host stand towards the kitchen. He wanted a midnight snack. A bartender did not see the spirit, but he did see the patron's face and how white his face became.
A former brewmaster named Russ Chicot tells the following experiences. I've had a couple of experiences, but just hearing things. I was here one morning early by myself. Actually, there was one person in the kitchen. And I'd gone up into the attic to get some stuff for a beer festival. When you come out of the attic, there's a swinging door and a long hallway before you come down the back kitchen steps. I came out of the door and down the hallway. And when I made the turn to come down the steps, I heard someone walking behind me. I stopped, went back to look in the hallway, and there was nobody there. Who's following you? At the time, only Russ and one other employee were in the building. Russ added, another time I was here around 7:30 in the morning. I saw some chairs were up here. I was in the basement changing my shoes, getting ready to brew when I heard a noise that sounded like one of these chairs had fallen off and hit the floor. I came upstairs. Nothing. Everything was in place. Nothing on the floor. Almost makes you wonder, is that just like a residual sound, or did the spirits knock something over and then pick it back up again?
Could be either one. Paranormal investigators had been allowed to investigate the building when it was the General Lafayette Inn, and many groups claimed that they captured orbs on film, had weird feelings in the building, and experienced battery drains. No one was allowed to investigate when it was the Barren Hill Tavern, and the owner was indifferent to claims that it was haunted.
And as far as I know, the General never let anybody in either, because I couldn't find anything from those time periods. The General Lafayette Inn passed through the hands of many owners in its nearly 300 years of existence. Are some of those owners still hanging around the property? Are there other ghosts here? Is the General Lafayette Inn haunted? That is for you to decide. Well, another one of these fascinating places. I wish that it would be open for people to have the opportunity to do a little bit of investigating in there. It's a very cool building. And for it to have been around so long, I mean, imagine what that building has seen.
Oh my gosh, I really can't.
From the early colonial time before the American Revolution. So you know, this is an inn and a tavern. They had meetings there talking about what they were going to do to break free from Britain.
I'm sure.
And then you had battles that took place near there. That's why they had to repair it after the American Revolution. It probably got shot up a little bit. And then just coming through all of the time from then on, it basically watched America become a country.
Well, I hope they keep it intact. I hope it's somewhat close to its original form. Probably isn't, but maybe one day we'll hear about groups that are allowed to go in and investigate.
Yeah, and if anybody knows anything, you live in the Philadelphia area, I don't know, drive by and see. Is there really something there right now, or is it just sitting abandoned? I don't know. I couldn't find for sure, but I do believe it's under new ownership.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about it.
We want to thank you guys for joining us for this Redux. I've been your host, Diane.
And this has been Kelly.
You take care now.
Bye-bye.